Y'all got it. Jessica Lange, Feud, Bette and Joan just finished airing on FX. I know you've worked with Ryan Murphy so many times. How did he convince you to take on this challenging role as Joan Crawford?
Well, you know, there was a script around for a long time that was written as a film script. And I had been aware of it for a couple of years, and we had kind of talked about maybe doing it as a film. And then about a year and a half ago, I got a call from him, and he had this idea of doing it as an 8-part series and expanding the story, you know, forward and back. And I thought it was I thought it was a really great idea. I mean, I'd always loved the kind of the core story around the making of Baby Jane and the Oscars and that. But I thought if we could really explore these women's lives leading up to that moment, and then, I mean, for me to be able to play Joan Crawford right till the end, it was great. It was great. He didn't have to do too much to convince me to do it. I wanted to play it.
You trust him at this point, don't you?
For the most part. There's always an element of surprise.
Well, before this aired, I think more people were familiar with Bette Davis than they were Joan Crawford, just the types of roles they took and some of Joan's Oscar wins and so forth. What do you hope people came away with about Joan Crawford, learning more about her from this project?
Well, I think this project allowed us to talk about Joan's past, about her childhood, and you know what a hard life it was for her coming up, and what drove her to Hollywood and to become successful. Really, what I hope people understand about her is the tremendous complexity, like all human beings. You know, it's not this or that. It's not black and white. There's a lot of area, you know, contradictions. And I think what we tried to do was to be very honest and very sympathetic, I mean, to her and to where she came from, what she was up against, what it was like to be, you know, a great star in Hollywood, to see that star dim and fade and then disappear altogether. So all of those things that we dealt with in this, I think, you know, present a picture of a portrait of a woman that we haven't had before, a portrait of Joan that people aren't really familiar with. And I hope more than anything, that's what we've succeeded at. I mean, because she was contradictory. She was difficult. She was also incredibly vulnerable and tragic in a way. And I don't think, you know, in anything that I've seen, you know, was, you know, that kind of portrait existed of her before, and this is what I hope. I made a mess of that question.
No, that's good. You know, as an awards website, we couldn't help but love that 5th episode, which was all about the Oscars. What did you enjoy shooting about that particular episode?
I was so stunned that somebody could do this. And to have the, for lack of a better word, the balls to carry this thing through and to do it with the kind of style and drive and ambition that she had. It's so outside my wheelhouse as a human being, but there was something, you know, playing her, I kept going back time and again to what was the motivation, what was the cause of this, you know, the cause and effect, and every time there was some kernel there that was rooted in like a deep sorrow and disappointment, fear, all of these things that made those moments really rich to play. Listening to the to the broadcast that night and watching that footage of them like waiting backstage. I mean, I just thought this is so extraordinary to see something like this going on, because you're never aware of all the kind of backstage drama. And I really felt with Ryan, with writing it and directing it, he captured something extraordinary in that episode.
I'm interviewing Jackie Hoffman in a few days. The two of you seemed like you were having a ball together as actresses. What was it like acting opposite her?
Well, it was great. I mean, I loved all the actors that I worked with. I have to say, I thought this was just an extraordinary cast, from Jackie to Alfred Molina and Stanley Tucci, and of course the great Judy Davis and Susan. I mean, it was one of those rare cases where you think, oh, this is perfect. This is the perfect cast. And everybody seemed to find a way to work together that had a great deal of ease and trust. But working with Jackie, because there was so much personal stuff there between them, she was probably in some way closer to Joan than a lot of these other people living there with her in the house and knowing all of this. And I thought Jackie did just an extraordinary job of finding that character and bringing her to life.
As one, not only the cast, but as one of the producers on this project, I think you're going to see a lot of Emmy nominations in a few weeks across so many different the different crafts categories and actors and so forth. What would that mean to you as one of the producers?
I would be thrilled. I think everybody's work on this has been so great. Certainly Lou with all the wardrobe, our production designer, hair and makeup. I mean, everybody worked so diligently to try to get it right. And it was working from photographs, obviously, from footage, but it was a great crew, and I would love to see everybody's work recognized. I think yes. I mean, not just as a producer, but I mean, as a fellow, participant in the whole, project. I think everybody deserves to have their work recognized. It really was extraordinary across the board, I think.
You never had a chance to meet Joan Crawford, right? She would have maybe passed away just as you were starting?
She passed away in '77, and I made my first film. Well, my first film came out in '77. So no, I never had a chance to meet her.
I did run across a photo today of you and Bette Davis around 83.
Showed that to me.
What do you recall about that? It was an AFI event.
It was an AFI event, and to tell you the truth, I don't have a very clear memory of it. I don't know what we were on a panel. I think maybe Jimmy Caan was there also, but I can't even imagine why I was on, I mean, having made one movie, why I would have been on the same panel as Bette Davis. I have no idea. I don't know what we talked about. I have no memory of it, except somebody showed me that same picture, and I knew I had met her. I mean, it wasn't like I forgot meeting her, of course, but I have no idea what it was about.
Well, that's I love that coincidence, though, for this particular movie.
Yes, it was. It was. Yeah, I do remember being like kind of, wow, this is Bette Davis when I met her. But
well, since you and our website last had a chat, you have won a Tony Award last summer.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? You're one of the few people ever to win, as an actor, to win a Tony, an Oscar, and an Emmy.
Well, it was thrilling, mostly because, I mean, that part of Mary Tyrone means the world to me. I loved that character. I loved playing her. I loved our production. But just going out there every night with that play and that character was thrilling. It was a thrilling experience, and to be recognized that way with a Tony, it was one of the best nights.
Well, only 12 people have ever won what we call the EGOT. You just need a Grammy. Have you thought about what you could record maybe to get a Grammy and become the 13th?
Well, maybe. I don't know what it would take for me to win a Grammy, but it won't be for my singing. I know that.
I think several people, actors and actresses, have won their Grammys.
Spoken word, I would imagine.
Maybe like find a favorite book of yours and do the or a children's book. You love children's.
I do. I love children's literature. Yeah, I could do that.
Maybe that's the way you do it.
I could do that.
Another coincidence I discovered, we were on a little retreat, our editors, a few weeks ago. We were watching some old Oscars, and the night you came back, the year after you won for Blue Sky, you come back to present Best Actor, as is the tradition. And Tom Hanks presents Susan Sarandon the award. She's crossing off stage and you're walking on stage to present Best Actor. I just thought that was a wonderful coincidence.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that's how it would have happened. Yeah, no, I don't remember that, but yes, that was an interesting coincidence. I loved working with Susan. We had a great time. She is a powerful actor, and I thought what she did with Bette was really extraordinary.
You're one of the few also to win 2 Oscars, and I think only 3 people have been in your situation, actresses, to win supporting and lead. Meryl Streep and Cate Blanchett, so that's very good company. Do you have a favorite memory from one of your Oscar nights?
Oh, I'm so bad with memories and anecdotes. No,
well, let me ask you this. I asked Richard Dreyfuss this I guess it was last summer. I said, you had won so many awards leading up to that night. I said, did you kind of expect you were going to win? He said, absolutely. I told my manager I was going to win, and I was bound to do it. So did you expect to win, or was it a surprise either time?
I think for Blue Sky, I mean, it came as kind of as a shock, really, because that was a film that hadn't really even received a general release. I mean, it was in a very strange situation in that the studio that made it, Orion, had folded and had been bought up by Multimedia or something. I can't even remember who it was. And it had just sat on a shelf in a bank vault for several years before it was released. And in the meantime, Tony Richardson, the director, had passed away, and there was a lot of time had gone by, and then suddenly it was released and there was all this attention, but it was never really a film that, how can I say this? It didn't follow the kind of natural, normal trajectory of a movie that's being positioned for Academy Awards, and we all know everything that goes into that. So this kind of just was this dark horse little movie that most people only saw in the early days of DVD, when the Academy would send DVDs out, because I think it only played in a couple theaters. And then to have the work recognized, it was kind of shocking. It was wonderful. It was surprising, though.
I looked at both of your speeches last night. You're always so gracious, and I loved in the first speech, your Tootsie speech, that you thanked your leading lady, Dustin Hoffman. I love that.
Well, because most of my scenes with Dustin and that was when he was in drag. So yeah, you began to think of him as your girlfriend, your friend, your leading lady.
Well, you've been gracious to us all these years, and this is one of the best achievements of your whole career, playing Joan Crawford.
Thank you so much. When I went into it, I didn't really know what to expect playing Joan Crawford. I kind of stepped into it with no expectations, and I was so stunned at what that character gave me to do, what that what presented itself in playing Joan Crawford. I mean, it was really a huge role with, I mean, the range of emotions and the physical transformations. I mean, it was a dream part as an actor. It ended up being just thrilling to play her.
Well, it was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you, Chris.